Today, we were going to talk Michael Cohen. We talked about him before, and that was the President Trump's lawyer for about 10 years. Trump said he didn't do that much, but he was his lawyer for about 10 years. And as you know, he was arrested, and since then he has said all over the news and the newspapers that now he switched from Republican Democrat, and he's going to do everything he can to testify against President Trump. So he's going to do everything he can to go against President Trump and tell everything he knows about what they did while he was in his office and worked for about 10 years. I think Michael Cohen's a lawyer, but the U.S. Department of Justice, United States Attorney, Southern District in New York, that's been the one that's been after him and going after all the charges against him. Now, one of them he had was that they got him for evasion of personal income tax for the years 2012, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So they're saying that he has evaded paying the tax that he really owes for those different years, and each charge carries a maximum term of imprisonment of 5 years, fine of $100,000. So that's really five of the charges against him. Then another charge against him was he was making false statements to a bank, which that's a criminal violation, trying to get a loan from a bank, and he lied or gave them bad information in trying to get that loan. And that was around 2016. And for that violation, you could get a maximum penalty in jail of 30 years for lying to a federal bank when you get an application for a loan. I think that's what it involved. I think the bank was Sterling Bank, something like that in New York. So that's a charge he had. And then another charge against him was another charge that he had against him involved in the main charge that we think that could get to Trump was all this money that passed to the two girls. Supposedly he took the money. He says Trump knew everything about it, every single step, and he gave the one girl $150,000, and then this other girl, it's been in the news, the dancer, $130,000. And the first one went through this other company that he's involved with, or he's friends with the guy that runs it, the 150. That went to one of the girls, and he supposedly was dating that girl for about a month. The other girl, he only went out with one night about 5 years ago. No, it was more than that, almost 10 years ago, and she is in the news. Now, in both settlements with the two girls, they said that they could take the money, but the whole idea of the settlement was they couldn't tell nobody about Donald Trump because this was right near the 2016 election. So the agreement each of them signed was that they had to keep their mouths shut on what happened, what they did, whatever with Donald Trump. And that's why he paid them. And Cohen says Trump knew everything about it. Trump for a while said he didn't know nothing about the money or who paid it. But that was $280,000 that went to these two girls. And um, so that charge is one about giving the two girls money and telling them, signed an agreement that they couldn't tell anybody. But I really think, excuse me, that bank was Sterling National Bank, was the one he lied to when he was trying to get a loan. But the way the money went to the girls, it was connecting to Donald Trump. We think his filing that he has to do each year on the money that he takes in the money he spends. In fact, that could be the worst thing that that this Michael Cohen could do to the president, because naturally, if 200, 130, and 150 went in to his fund, which was his political fund, which when he gets money, it's all supposed to go in there. So supposedly they didn't put down at the 250 went in there, 280, but actually the money came from Trump, and then it went out to the girls. So that should have, their name should have been in there. I don't know what the filing looks like, but we'll have to get a copy of it. It'll come out eventually. But if this guy Michael Cohen can hurt Trump and do anything to him, it's going to be with those two girls and the money going into the election fund and the money coming out. Now, when Trump was on the steps on a train here for a while months ago, he said he didn't know nothing about the money, where it went, whatever. You got to talk to my lawyer. And then his lawyer lately said that Trump knew every single detail of these two girls and of the money and how the money went in to them and how the money came out of somebody's pocket and something like that. So that's what he's saying now. And naturally, Michael Cohen is scared now because the feds have been after him about some of the things I've been talking about, these taxes and things like that. And he's been trying to work on negotiating those taxes and the charges against him. I think there are about 8 charges against him for all the things I mentioned with the taxes, and then the money lying to the bank, and then the money going in and out of this political fund, which was not put down. And the charges, all these charges with Michael Cohen, if you go through them and look up the statutes that he violated, you're talking about 63 years in prison. At first I heard they were going to give him 17 or 27. But when you go over the statutes, if you read them and add up everything, you'll see that comes to 63 years in prison. And naturally, he already said he has a wife and family, and he's going to do everything he can to protect them. Now, since Cohen has been dealing with the federal government negotiating, supposedly he has come down to some type of settlement agreement, and in that settlement agreement they use some guidelines, and they're going to 51 to 63 months imprisonment. But that's a long way from 63 years. 51 to 63 months, and he could probably even get that lowered once it starts. And if he violates his agreement that he signed so far, then that'll go back to the 63 years, and the 63 months you can tear up. So that means he'll never see daylight again once he goes into prison. So I don't think he's going to do anything to interfere with that settlement agreement that they reached. His lawyers reached it. I think he has 3 lawyers, and there's several lawyers on the other side in New York, and they reached this settlement agreement, and I don't think he's going to say one thing to violate it, and he's also going to testify to the things that he said, I guess, that he knows about Trump and all these other things. But the only thing that's in the news right now is, can he hurt Trump or not? He worked for him 10 years and everything's going back and forth. But the fact he didn't pay income tax, that doesn't have nothing to do with the president. And that's most of the charges against him, the income tax for 5-6 years. So I think his lawyers did a good job by negotiating that down. Now, the judge on the case is William Pauley III, and the hearing on this case is December 12th. There's been no hearing yet. I think there have been some papers signed about the agreement, and he has to go to that hearing, and that judge will go over all the things with him that could happen, can happen, whatever, and he's got to plead guilty to the charges that I've been talking about,
Right.
that they negotiated down to the 63 months possibly. And he's got to go over everything with that judge.
Mm-hmm.
And when he does that, then that judge will sentence him. I guess he'll sentence him that day, December 12th, and I think he'll sentence him to jail for the time. That's 63 months right now. But he's going to have to be available because, as we know, maybe Trump will come up. I don't know. Supposedly they can't indict Trump while he's in office, and I don't know if they will. But I would say, of all the things involved with this Michael Cohen, the way I see it and the way everybody's negotiating, it's down to the girl's money. I didn't think everybody laughed at that money. I didn't think there was nothing to the money. But the thing that money plays is that it doesn't show that money's going down as a political expense. And it doesn't show the money coming out. They bypass that political account. And those forms have to be filed each year. And you have to put down every penny that you get and every penny you pay out. Period. And you send that form into Washington, D.C., into the government. Now, I don't know, maybe he can amend those forms for going back to 16. I don't know. I doubt it, but I haven't researched that. But that could be a possibility. But right now, though, it looks like, and everybody was laughing, that if the president goes down, these girls could be taking them down, mainly because the money was not put in the political account. It was not written down. It was not sent into the government. Because you can have all kind of expenses, and maybe that's a legitimate expense of your business. I don't know. But you got to have it down. If it's not down, see, that's $280,000 that wasn't down on those reports. And those reports were probably due the end of 2016. I don't know. That's when he got in the election. And now it's been 16, 17, now 18. But that's where it sits right now. And I guess we'll see what happens December 12th when Cohen goes before the federal judge on the plea hearing. He's already said he's going to plead guilty, and after they worked out these settlement charges. But we'll see what happens. Thank you.